So thanks everybody for showing up for day 5 of the workshop. This is really cool. I'm very excited that we've had great attendance all week and people seem pretty engaged with this. Today we're going to be kind of covering almost the end of like a workflow, if you kind of think about it that way, where we spent the first part of the week learning how to manipulate data in R. And then we looked at some ways to sort of present it and to sort of formalize your workflow. And now today, Sarah's going to talk about making a GitHub website, which is a way to be able to make a website where you kind of back up your changes as you go along, and it's free. So as long as you kind of figure out the skills you need to edit things, you can do it just totally on your own without too many resources. And the goal is kind of to advertise your skills as a graduate student and maybe show off some of the work that you've done this week in the workshop, or other things related to your thesis. But I don't want to take Sarah's presentation away from her, so I'll hand it over to her now. Thanks, Sarah.
All right, thanks, Matt. Okay, so let me just share my screen here. Okay. So thanks for sticking around all week. My name is Sarah, and I do research on clouds. I work for the Lab for Atmospheric Research, and I'm a PhD student. So I'm going to talk about GitHub pages, and we're going to work through making our own page or our own website together. Whoops. So first, I'm going to have a quick GitHub refresher because it's been since Monday since we've really looked at the commands laid out, and I want to make sure that we're all still on the same page about that. Then I'll talk a bit about what GitHub pages are and how they work. We'll look at the template then that we're going to all use, and we'll get it copied over onto our account. And this is the most complicated step, in my opinion, and probably where we'll run into the most issues. So after that, we're going to have a quick break just to make sure that we're all on the same page. It's really important that we all get the template on our account and uploaded correctly before we start editing. So that's a big step for us. After the break, we'll edit our template. There are 2 different ways that we can edit it, both online and locally, because we'll have a copy locally. And so I'll show you both of those ways. We'll add images to our website. We'll edit our pages. I'll show you how to add and remove pages if you want to customize your website a little bit further. And then we should have a website that you can give people. So one quick note for the second half of the morning, it would be helpful if you have a photo of yourself and maybe your resume or your CV so that you have all of your information about yourself right in front of you. But don't worry about that until after the break. And if you don't want to fill your website with information about you, that's fine. You can make your website about whatever you want. But the website that we're doing is catered toward a grad student trying to showcase their work, like Matt said. So for a quick GitHub refresher, when we push to GitHub, we add it, we commit it, and then we push. So we'll be doing this, pulling from GitHub. We just use git pull. I don't remember if we did this on Monday, but we'll get some practice with this today, and I'll go slowly and everyone can really copy what I'm doing. So it's okay if we don't have experience with this yet. And then some other commands that we have used and may use today are git status and git clone. Clone we definitely will use today. Status is kind of your own call, but I think we used that on Monday, so I figured I would add it to our refresher. So what are GitHub pages? Matt talked a little bit about the fact that they're free and that you don't need a whole lot of coding knowledge for this, I guess. So basically a GitHub page can be made by anybody with a GitHub account, which is free. So that doesn't cost any money. And you can have as many GitHub page websites as you'd like. So you can have different you can have your username / and then a different like end of your URL. And so we'll talk a little bit more about the naming convention in a bit, but you can have different websites for different projects. So it's free, it's easily personalized. Once we have a handle on the coding, we can very easily manipulate what's on our website. And everybody already should have a little bit of background because they everything on these pages uses Markdown, which is what we learned from Alex earlier this week. So there are lots of pre-made templates, so you never have to like really start from scratch and code your own thing. You can start with whatever template you want. So you can either do like an academic one like we're gonna do, or if you want something that's focused more exactly on your project, you can definitely find something that will fit your needs. Version control is another good thing about the GitHub websites. As we saw before, we'll be able to version control our websites and we can collaborate easily. So multiple people can be on the same repository pushing and pulling, just like with a regular GitHub repository. So this works by converting Markdown to HTML using Jekyll. And so we don't really need to know anything about that. It will do that all on the back end. The only thing that we're going to be writing and dealing with is Markdown. You'll see HTML, and if you know HTML, there's some that you can definitely edit, but I am assuming you don't know any HTML, and so is the template, so we don't need to deal with that at all. So just to note that the Markdown we're using, same as what we used when we did the R Markdown website, or R Markdown workshop page. So if you have notes from that you think are handy, you can pull those up when we get to that point, but you won't need to. I'll provide any information that you need. And typically it's constructed on the GitHub Pages branch of a GitHub repository, which maybe doesn't mean a whole lot right now, but we'll get into that and I'll demonstrate more what that means. But basically it's a special branch of the repository that GitHub recognizes as a page, and that's how it knows to like publish the repository. So we're going to go through the template now so that when we start editing, we know exactly what we're looking at. So this is what the website looks like. This is the bare bones like skeleton of your website. You have like your sidebar, and then you'll be able to click on different links to social media about yourself. This page is entirely customizable. You can write whatever you want here. It has some information about the template already here, but we're not going to follow this. We're going to do our own thing sort of so that we're all on the same page step by step. So then we have our footer, which we can edit. We also have our header, which we can edit too. Note that our site name comes up here. And this is our navigation bar. These are all the pages that we are linked to. So if we click on publications, each of these is a page that would be about one of your publications. So if we click on one of the paper titles, it brings up another page. It has a recommended citation, and we'll be able to write whatever we want here. Next, we have our talks tab, which is set up very similarly to publications, except that it has some more details in there that would be more helpful, like location and date. But again, these are all individual pages. So this will be important to note when we start going through the actual directory structure. Teaching, very similar to the other two pages. Again, just a list of more pages basically that you can edit. Then we have a portfolio, which is a little bit different because these ones have images as our preview, which we can remove, and I'll show you how to do that when we get there. But these you can also click on and brings up a page. And so when we get here, I'll show you how to start putting your like code here and how to put in our Markdown things here so that you can actually display the things that we've done earlier in the workshop. We then have a blog. It is set right now to show future blog posts. So we see that this one is in 2199. So obviously that hasn't happened yet, but it's still showing this post. And there's a way that we can turn this on and off, and I'll show you when we get there. Again, we have these links to pages. You click on a page, here's a blog post. So what I think is one of the coolest pages of this template is the CV. So when we get to the CV page, we'll be able to enter in our education, our work experience, and things like that, which is why it will probably be helpful if you have your own like CV or resume with you, so that you can copy and paste these things in, but you can obviously just type them in too. But when we get down to the bottom of this, it automatically fills in our publications, our talks, and our teaching. So these will be on your CV page, and there'll be links to these pages that I showed you before. So the CV compiles itself as we go. So when we get to the CV page, all we'll need to edit is this top part, because everything else will be already put in from other pages we've edited. And then lastly, there's a guide, which is some basic information about the template in case you forget anything, but I'll go over all of this too. And then there's some markdown hints and syntax. So if you have any questions about how to do things in Markdown, this page should answer those. And I'll show you how to get to this in your own website once we get there. Okay, so next we are going to clone our repository. So to do this, we will open, however you were cloning the repository or doing GitHub before, you can do it from whatever terminal. I'm going to use terminal on the Mac because that's what I'm used to. So before we start typing any sort of code, I want you all to navigate to the Google Drive for this this workshop day, and there is a PDF in there that's called GitHub Sites, and it should look like this. And so this is here for you in case you get lost throughout this. You can sort of read about what's going on if anything doesn't make sense. Also, some of the commands you'll be able to copy and paste. This also would probably be good reference for later on if you want to like replicate this. And there's a bit of directory structure information. So I'll reference this sheet or this page for throughout as a reference. So when everyone has this page, can you put up a red check mark? Or not a red check mark, a green check mark. And I don't know how to see them.
I'll let you know.
Or Michael will, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And let me know if anybody has any issues with this.
Maybe 30 seconds to a minute more, if that's okay.
Yeah. Sounds good.
I think you're good, Sarah.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's return to our terminal. So the first thing I'm going to do is clone the template to my computer. So to do this, I'm going to type git. Oh, I should make this bigger. Sorry about that. That's not how you do it. How do I make, does anybody know how to make the text bigger? Any of the helpers?
I think Command and plus will do it.
Okay. Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Let me just make this a better size. How's the size? Good?
I
Okay,
think good.
perfect. Okay, so we're gonna type git clone, and then we're gonna take the URL that's in that handout that I gave you. It's this URL. The academic page is github.io.git. And then we'll hit enter and it'll say cloning. And so once everybody has this finished going, put up a green check mark so that I know that you've cloned the directory. And so, yeah, this is what it will look like when it's finished. There's an alternative way of doing this too that I'll show for future reference in case anybody wants to know, or if anybody's having issues with the cloning. But I'm doing it this way so that I have a local copy of this too. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do as well. How's it looking, helpers? How are people doing?
We're about halfway there, so a couple more people
Perfect.
still need to
Okay.
get it.
So when we clone, what we're doing is we're just copying somebody else's repository onto our own computer. And so the goal of this, to give you a little background, is that we're copying this onto our computer. And then what we're going to do is get rid of their like Git history, basically, add our own, and then we're going to push it to our own GitHub. So then we'll be able to edit it. And that's the ultimate goal of our cloning that we're doing right now, just to give you more of a bigger picture of what we're doing here with the cloning.
I think you're probably good to move on, Sarah.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Okay, so now we've come to when we need to make our first decision about our website. And we need to decide what our website is going to be called. So if we go back to my PowerPoint just to show you the different naming conventions. So there are two ways that we can do it. We could do it so that when people type in our username.github.io, they come to our website. Or we can make it so that they need to type username.github.io / a website name to get to our website. And so the difference here really is that I would use this one for if you have a personal website and if your username is something reflective of yourself. So like my GitHub username is Sarah Murphy, so, or Sarah Y Murphy or something like that. So this is like a fine URL for my own. But if you want to have like your own name in the end, you would do it a different way. And I'll show you how to do both ways, but these are the two naming options for your GitHub website. And if you were going to have like multiple websites on your account because you have different projects that you want websites for, you would want to use this for those projects, so that you would have like your name.github.io/PhD research or something like that, whatever you want your website to be about. So when I go through this, I am going to assume, that we're doing this first one. This is what I'm going to do for mine. But if you want to do this, I will also tell you what we're doing to get this, to get it to be like this as well.
Hey, Sarah, there's a question about whether the username in those phrases should be the same as your GitHub username. My thinking is yes, but I also know that can you have a separate like Git username from your GitHub username? Do you know what I mean?
I am not sure about the different Git and GitHub username that you're talking about, but in this situation, this is your GitHub username. So this is whatever, like if I go to GitHub, this is going to be what you're signed in as.
Cool. Yeah,
Thanks
I think I just confused myself, so ignore what I said about multiple usernames.
That could be possible too. I'm not an expert, so by all means, if there's like content about that, you can paste it into the chat, and I am interested in reading it too. But yeah, so these are our two different name options, and yeah, so username would be your GitHub username. Whoops. And then this can be anything. And so that's what we're going to decide now. So we need to go back to our terminal to do the next thing. So now we're going to change the name of this directory so that it reflects what we want our website to be called. So because I want mine to be my username.github.io, that's what I'm going to name it. So to do this, I'm going to type mv, which is the move command in on the terminal. And then I'm going to type academicpages.github.io, because this is our current name of our directory that we just cloned. And then I'm going to put what I want my website to be named. So my website, I would like to be named flamethecat.github.io, because I'm going to be making a website for my cat to demonstrate for you. Yours would be your GitHub username.github.io. Or if you wanted it to be the other way, where you have /website name, your repository name is just website name. So if I wanted it to be flamethecat.github.io/favorite toys, and this is a website all about Flame's favorite toys, then I would just name my repository favorite toys. So then I did something wrong. Oh, I spelled academic pages wrong. I said academic page. So it's academic pages. And then you shouldn't get any feedback when you hit enter. If it worked correctly, it should have just moved your academic pages directory that you just downloaded to be named your new name. And so I want everyone to put up a green check once they've renamed their directory. And if you want to check if you've renamed it successfully, you can go into your like a Finder window or your folder structure on whatever type of computer you're looking at, and then just check wherever it is. So I see that I now have the flamethecat.github.io folder here. So I know that it was renamed correctly. And so, yeah, if the helpers could let me know when everybody seems to be on the same page.
Yep, looks like you're good, Sarah.
Perfect. Okay. I just don't, this is the most important part, so I want to make sure that I don't leave anybody behind in just getting our template uploaded to our website. So if it seems a little slow right now, that's why, and the second half will be more exciting, I promise. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is remove the Git information from the previous person who had this, or the person who created this template. So we're going to CD into our new directory. So CD stands for change directory. I don't know how experienced you all are with navigating this way, so that's why I'm going to explain everything so in detail. But we're going to CD into our new directory. So mine is flamethecat.github.io. And so you should see that you've moved up a directory. And so now I'm going to type rm-r .git. And again, all these commands are in that handout that I sent out. So if you want to copy and paste these commands, you can also do that. So we're just going to do this, and it's going to ask us 2 questions, and we're going to say yes for both of those. Or maybe it doesn't ask you the questions, or maybe it asks you more questions, but you're just going to say yes to make sure that we remove this .git folder so that we can make our own.
Sarah, what is that .git folder?
So this .git file is it's the information initializing the repository on your machine. So the next step that we're going to do is type git init, and so what that's going to do is basically recreate this folder and the .git file, and it's going to be set up for our own repository. It's going to be an empty one. So if we tried to push this now, I believe we'd get an error because that is set up to be for the person who was doing this on their machine to develop the template. If you know, if one of the helpers knows differently than that, please let me know. But that's my understanding of what this .git file is. So then once we've removed it, we're just going to say git init, so init, and we're going to hit enter. And you should get a note that says that it's initialized an empty Git repository. And then you should get a URL, or not a URL, a path here. And so when everyone has initialized their Git repository, put up a green check. So how are we doing, helpers? Did we run into any issues with this? Is anybody having problems uploading, or not uploading, but initializing their repository?
We have no evidence to suggest otherwise right now, or like I don't.
Okay,
Probably just 30 more seconds to a minute, and then you'll be good to move on.
sounds good. Perfect.
I think you're probably good to move on, Sarah.
Great. Okay. So now we are finished with the command line for now. So now we're going to open a web browser and go to the GitHub website. So I'll give you a second to do that, and then we'll create our repository online. So once we get to our GitHub, github.com, just the main GitHub website, we're going to click New to create a new repository. And I think you did this on Monday too, but we'll go through it again. So you should get a screen like this. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm making a website for my cat. So this is my cat's GitHub account, and everything is going to be about my cat. So hope you guys like cats. He might make an appearance during this.
Sarah, could you zoom in a little bit?
Oh yeah, sorry about that. I always forget about the zooming in.
Awesome, thanks.
How's this? Okay, good. Okay.
That's great.
So the first thing we're going to do is name our repository. And so we want this to be the same thing that we named our folder. So mine is going to be flamethecat.github.io. If you didn't do it so that your URL is just going to be this, you'll just put that website name after the slash. So it's the same thing as your folder. Once you enter your repository name, you can put in a description. This is optional, but I'm going to write, this is a website for my cat. And then we want to keep our repository public, because I believe with the free accounts, if you try and do private, it won't let you actually share your website. So we want to make sure that we keep it public. And then we don't want to initialize it with any of these. So make sure that the add a README, add a git ignore, and add a or choose a license, make sure those are all unchecked. And so all these settings are also in a screenshot in that handout that I sent, in case you try and replicate this and forget what these settings need to be. But that's what we should do. And so for me, at least, none of these were already checked. So there was nothing that we needed to change. So then we're going to click Create Repository. And then we will end up on a page like this, and it will have some directions about how to do things in the command line, but don't go ahead and do those things, because we're going to do it a little bit differently, because this is a website. And so once you have this screen, put up your green check.
You're good to move on, Sarah.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now what we're going to do is copy this URL, because we're going to need it in a minute. So make sure that you have HTTPS selected here, and then just copy this whole URL and just keep it on the clipboard for now. We're going to use it in a second. So now we're going to go back to the command line, and we are still in this folder where we git init, where we did the command git init. So stay here, don't get out of this directory. And then we're just going to say git add period. And then once we do, what that's doing is adding everything to start the process of pushing it to our own repository. So then we're just going to do git commit, and then write whatever we want our first commit message to be. I'm going to write first commit for my website. Doesn't really matter at this point, because it's just your first commit. So that comment probably isn't super meaningful for you, but it's a good habit to be in. What did I do wrong? It didn't like that I had an exclamation point, I don't think. So let me just show that again. So I just did git commit -m and then I wrote first commit. And then it showed me all of these files that are in that directory. So those are all now ready to be pushed. But before we do that, we have to do a couple other things. So first we want to make a branch that is called GitHub Pages. And so that's how GitHub is going to know that this is a website. So to do this, we're going to type git -m master, and then we're going to type gh-pages. And I'm going to leave this up for a minute so that everybody gets this command correct. So this is a little different than what we're seeing on the GitHub website. So this is an important step for the websites. If you do it wrong, you can change it. But this will set you up for having an easier time throughout the rest. And so I'm just going to run that. Oh, I didn't type branch. Git branch -m master gh pages. Sorry about that. You should be able to see these exact commands on that handout too. So once we run that command, we shouldn't have any sort of output. If you get something like this, then you haven't typed it right. So next, we're going to add that repository to the path to that repository to our local repository. So to do that, we're going to write git remote add origin, and then we're going to paste that URL that we copied and pasted earlier from the website. And then we're just going to run that and nothing should come up. And so if we've done everything correctly, we should be able to push it. So then we can type git push -u origin gh-pages. And we should run that, and we should get some notification that things are happening. And then in the end, we should have a successful message. So once you have a message like this from your pushing, put up a green check mark. If you missed any of these commands that I typed in, they're all in that PDF that I sent, or that was in the Google Doc. So we'll just pause here real quick, and if helpers could let me know when everyone seems to be on the same page.
Probably 30 seconds to a minute more, Sarah.
Sounds good. Is anyone running into like major issues with this, or is it just getting caught up?
I'm not seeing any signs of issues. just
Great.
for green checks.
Awesome. So once you have this done, if you want to check if you've successfully pushed it, you can check if your website is live. So to do so, we'll go into the URL bar and we'll type in if we did, if we wanted it to just be our username, we'll type in username.github.io. If we want it to be more, we'll type the slash and then put whatever you wanted. So because mine was just flamethecat.github.io, I'm gonna hit enter and see that it has been published.
I think you're also good to move on if, yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So then if we go back to our GitHub page, if we refresh this page now, we should see some things in our directory now. So if we wanted to make sure that this was published successfully from the settings, we can go there and scroll down. And we see this GitHub pages section. So to get here, I just went to the settings. I'm sorry, I'll zoom in a little bit. I forgot about that. Just in this upper bar, there's a settings button of your repository. And so I just clicked, yeah.
All right, I'm sorry to interrupt. I thought that
no,
was
you're good.
We got a question in the chat. Is there a way to stop it from being live while we're doing edits and things? And McKinley, if you want to unmute to elaborate on your question, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, I guess I'm just used to building a website and like only showing it to the public when it's like ready to go, I guess. Just curious about that.
Yeah, so there may be a way. The only way that I fully understand how to do it is keeping it live. If you want to be checking if your edits are like actually making it onto the website, you know, like if how you would like run code between to make sure that it successfully runs. I push periodically to make sure that I've successfully coded. And I don't know how to do this locally because of, or anywhere that's not live because of the GitHub, the way that it is translating the markdown pages into the HTML pages with the Jekyll. I'm not positive if there's a way to do that without it being published. You could edit locally before pushing anything, and then it wouldn't be, I guess your updates wouldn't necessarily be published, which maybe will make more sense when we get into actually editing the website. But you wouldn't be able to preview the website before actually pushing it.
So Sarah, I've looked into this a little bit because, like, for example, the software and data carpentry websites are made this way, but I've tried to like preview them locally for the exact same reason. There is a way to build the website on your computer, meaning locally, so that it's not up online. There's a kind of complicated sort of like installation process that leads up to that seems to work better on some operating systems than others. So if you wanted to do that, there's potentially a way. It's just not quite as clear. But I can see if I can find a link to describing that process for more references.
Interesting. Thanks, Matt. I didn't realize that. It makes sense that you would need to download something else or install something else to get that conversion to work.
Yeah, for reference, I had trouble doing it on Windows, but I think maybe like a Mac or Linux might work better. My understanding was that the software you need for it is just like not as friendly with Windows.
Huh. Okay.
Cool. Well, thanks.
So, yeah, no problem. Thanks, Matt. So, on the settings page, you should see under GitHub pages this, and it will say your site is published at this link. If your site has not been published yet, sometimes it takes a little bit for it to actually get the changes and like have it be displayed online. It would say your site is ready to be published, and it would be orange. And so if you just give it time, eventually it will say your site has been published when we do it this way. There is another way to do it, which I will show just briefly, and then we'll take a break. So the second way to get a repository onto your GitHub account is to do it entirely online. So if we navigate to the academic pages, you don't need to follow along with this because you already have your repository. But if we are on the main academic pages repository, academic pages / academic pages, if we wanted to do this without using our local computer, we could fork this. So we would go to fork up here. And what that does is it takes our own copy of that and puts it on our directory or on our account. So then you would need to edit entirely online to do that. You wouldn't have like a local copy if you did it this way. You also would need to change some settings in settings to make sure that you're using the GitHub pages branch. But if everybody has successfully done this through the command line, like I just showed, I'm not going to go too deep into this. But if you are having issues doing it locally, there are other options. And don't be discouraged if you've had issues doing things locally, because there are other ways. Okay. So now I think we should take a quick break because we've done a lot. We've published our website, and I want to make sure that everybody is really on the same page here. And also I want to give you time if you want to grab any images that you might want on your website, pictures of yourself and like your CV. So let's take 5 minutes to break. And then if people have questions and they're having issues, we can extend this break a little bit. But let's come back at 9:27 and start editing our website.
Awesome. And I think Michael has put up a little poll about pacing in the Google Doc. So if you want to respond to that and just let us know how our pacing is right now, that'd be good. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. That would be great. Yes.
Sarah, did you see the question in the chat? I guess someone has asked if maybe we could, during the break, talk about the difference between forking and branching. It's just not totally clear, I think, kind of what those two things are. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's wait until after the break so that everybody is around for when we talk about that, so that everybody's on the same page. If that's not a clear thing, it probably isn't clear for anybody.
Yeah, sweet, thanks.
And just a follow up, Sarah, there was also a question about cloning. So maybe when we go back, if you could talk about cloning, branching, and forking, and yeah, at the beginning, following the break.
Okay, sounds good.
Reciting that's
Here's the cat whose website is getting made.
Hello, Flame the cat. Such a cutie.
All right, are we ready to continue? If I get my cat to be calm. Are Matt and Michael back?
Cameras are still off.
Sorry.
Michael's
I'm
okay.
here, sorry.
Okay, good. Okay. No, I just didn't want to like continue without everybody. Okay, so during the break, we had a question about the difference between cloning, forking, and then branching. So those are three like pretty new terms that I've used that we didn't really clarify before, and I apologize for that. So when we clone something, it's very similar to the forking. So when you clone, you're just copying the directory onto your local machine, basically. So you are just taking a duplicate of that directory and you have it locally. When you fork it, you're doing that same thing, but you're doing it on the website. So when you fork, it is essentially running the clone command, but we're not doing, it runs the clone command, but there were other commands that we ran about like branching, which I'll explain in a minute, that we would have had to do online and is a little more messy to do online versus in the commands line. So that's why we chose to clone over forking, but those two are really the same thing. The other thing that I said was branching. So your GitHub repositories have multiple branches. So you can click here on your repository. Sorry, I'll zoom in a little bit. When you have your repository, if you click this button here, these are all of your branches. And so these are basically different copies of your repository that you can edit separately and then merge together. I'm not going to get like super into that because honestly, I'm not an expert on branches. I don't use them very much, but I know that GitHub recognizes when you take it and you have a gh-pages branch, so a copy of your directory on your account that has that like label on it, and it knows that that is your website branch or your website like copy on your thing. So they're all ways to copy your directory, but they're used in different like places on GitHub. So clone is when you're bringing it down to your machine. Forking is on the website, and branches are just within your repository. So do any of the helpers have like more clear ways to say that? But if people are unclear on that, I definitely want to make sure that's clear.
Let's see, I missed part of your explanation, so I hope I'm not just reiterating what you said, but a quick review, or like I kind of like skimmed some of this over our break. A very quick summary is like basically a fork is very simple, like essentially the same thing as a clone or a copy, and then the branch is more of like let's see, it kind of remains part of the original repository still. So that's, I guess, like a slightly finer explanation of that. Let's see. And there was a question also about whether it's okay if your repository currently says GH pages instead of master.
It should
it
say
like...
GH pages, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So everybody, yeah, should, instead of master here, you should see GH pages. It probably would have been helpful if I looked at my own repository and not this one, so that you can see exactly what it is. Yeah, so mine says GH pages as well. And so we set it to say that. And that's the difference between what we did versus if we were to like fork, we would need to go through and go on the website interface and make sure that this said GH pages, versus when we did it in the command line, we basically told it, we want GH pages. So that's why the command line just is the way that we did the commands, sets all of those settings that you would need to do point and click if you were to do it the fork way. But a pro of forking it the way like online is that you can like ask to push it back to the original. And so if you wanted to make edits to this template, for example, you could like propose it to them, like if you thought maybe there should be an extra page or something. So those are some of like the pros and cons and the different uses of those. And I hope that that clears things up a little bit where there was confusion before the break. Okay, so let's dig into the structure of our website. So you should see the same folders that I have on your GitHub website, on your repository. If you don't, let a helper know, because your website probably won't load correctly if you don't have all of these files. So I'm just going to go down and explain what each of these folders are. You don't need to follow along too closely on your own directory structure, but I want us to have a more broad view of what our structure is like before we really get into editing. So the data folder has information about the authors of your website, information about the navigation, and about like the UI of the text of your website. So we're gonna eventually edit the authors and the navigation, but that's where those live. There's also information about if you were to have comments enabled on your website, that also lives here. And there are notes about what all of these things do on that PDF that I sent out. So you should also have kind of notes on what I'm saying right now already. So the drafts folder are your drafts for your blog posts. Yeah, includes is just some of the like back end stuff on your website, like layouts for pages, things like that. You won't need to edit includes or anything in that. And the same with layouts. These two directories are pretty much hands off for us. We're not going to edit anything in includes and layouts, because that is what houses the code that is taking the markdown that we're writing and converting it into HTML that we're going to see on our website. Now, the pages directory is an important one. This is where all of our pages live, basically. So we can see that in this directory, we have both HTML files and markdown files. So as we go through, we're not going to edit any of these HTML files in this folder. These HTML files are here just to take our markdown files and present them as an HTML page. So for example, we have portfolio.html, and so this builds the portfolio page for us. So unless we're like pretty confident in HTML and we want to really like be modifying our website, which we're not going to do in this workshop, and I encourage you to do with caution, we're not going to edit any of the HTML pages in the pages directory. However, we will edit the markdown pages. So for example, like our CV is in here. Any of those pages that didn't have like a bunch of links on them are in here as markdown pages. But so that means that there isn't going to be a page in here for a markdown page in here for like your blog or for your portfolio and things like that. There's only going to be HTML pages for those, because those have their own separate directory. And that might seem confusing right now, but when we actually dig into editing it, hopefully that will clear that up. So our next one is our portfolio. So this is the folder where all of our portfolio entries are going to be. And so we see that portfolio has markdown and HTML. And so this is a page where we can use both markdown pages and HTML, and the website will know how to parse that and make it into our like HTML page that looks like the rest of our website. Okay, next, this is our blog post page. So we will dig more into that when we talk about our blog. We have our publications folder. So within this, we're going to have a different page or a different markdown file for each of our publications. So essentially, these are each individual pages that are being put together by those HTML files. As we go down, we have this SASS or SAS folder. This folder we're not going to deal with at all. This is more of the backend stuff that is taking our markdown and making it into like a presentable website. Talks is where we're going to put like any talks that we've given. Teaching is where we'll put teaching materials or like information about classes, anything like that. Assets is again something in the back end that contains some stuff that we won't edit. Then we have our files and our images folders. So these two folders are where we're going to put any files that we want to house on our website or any images. So I'm going to show you when we get into actually editing the website how to add like a portfolio picture. And so when we do that, we're going to upload that to images. And so that's just to keep our directory structure neat. We have a markdown generator. We're not going to deal with that. And then we have a folder that says talk map. So this website has, or this layout has the capability to create a map of all of the talks or the locations of all the talks you've given. But unfortunately, it's not working right now, or I couldn't get it to work for me. So we're not going to make the talk map this time. But if you know Python and you know any background about coding, it's a map that's generated through Python. So that is something fun to look into if you want, I don't know, to dig more into some complicated parts of your website. So then we have our git ignore, which is the files that are being ignored by Git. We have our change log, which is a markdown file of all the changes that have been made to this template from the creators. And this contributing markdown tells you information about how to add functionality to the website and push it back to the people who maintain this. So if you want to help maintain this layout, you can do so with the information in here. Gem file is more of backend stuff that we won't edit. License is the licensing for this layout. So if you have any questions about what the different licenses are, because I didn't create this layout, you can look at it in here. The README is this information down here. And so you can edit that as you wish. That won't be displayed on your website at all. That's just sort of information about our website right now or about the template. And then we have these config files. And so I always call these yconfig, and I don't know why. So I might say that this is the file I'm talking about. These config files are really the like master files of like the information about you being displayed on the website. And that's the first file that we're actually going to edit in a minute. Then we have a JSON file that we're not going to deal with because that, again, has to do with the layout and stuff like that. And then the talk map, which isn't working right now. So that's our general overview of what our directory structure is. And again, you have notes of that in that PDF if you forget anything or want any more information about that. Does anyone have any questions about the directory structure before we dig into editing? Awesome. Okay. So are we ready to edit our website? This is the most exciting part. So we're going to edit the config file, and I'm going to show you how to edit it on GitHub right now. So we're going to edit on the website, but after this, I'll show you how to edit locally. So I'm going to show you the two different ways that we can actually edit and change our website. So if you navigate to your repository page here and scroll down to this config.yaml file, we're going to click on this. And it should pull up a page that looks like this. If it doesn't, let a helper know, and something is likely wrong with your template files. So to edit this, we are going to hit this pencil. And it should bring up something like this. So I'm going to pause for a second, and when you have this file up to edit like this, put up a green check mark. And if the helpers could let me know when people seem to be good.
Yeah, maybe a minute more, Sarah.
Perfect. Yeah.
I think we've kind of stabilized with the green check marks, so maybe maybe keep going.
Great. Okay. So I've opened up this file that we're editing next to our website here, just so that I can show you what we're actually editing on here, but you definitely don't need to have both up right now because you're not going to see, like, changes won't go live as you type them. So the key things that we want to change in this are, we want to change our title. And so this title modifies this area up here where it says your name / site title. So I'm going to change this to say Flame House Cat. And so I would recommend making that like your name or your position or something like that. Or if you were making like a website for any sort of like project, you could put the project there. The title separator is what separates your title. So if you hover over this, I don't know if you can see that, but when I hover over my tab, it says like, this is a ready to fork GitHub pages template. And so what this dash means is it is modifying what is shown in this title. So it's just the dash between our page name and our like website title. So for example, mine would say Flame House Cat dash publications or whatever. But if you changed this to be like a bunch of spaces, then it would say Flame House Cat a bunch of spaces, publications or whatever page. So then name, we're going to change this to be our name. And so this is just used throughout the website wherever like the website needs a name for the person who created it. So for example, if we scroll down to the bottom, it says 2019 your name down here. I don't know, this is probably pretty small for you. I'm sorry about that. And so this is like an example of where your name from this field would go. So I'm going to write Flame. So then we have our description. Sorry, I had to make this small again because if it's too big, the sidebar doesn't show up. But our our personal description shows up not in the sidebar. I'm actually not positive where this shows up, but I'm gonna write flame the house cat. Okay, so next is important for our website to generate correctly is our URL. So we see that they automatically have the academic pages URL. So this is going to be whatever you are typing in to get to your page. So mine will be flamethecat.github.io. Yours will be whatever your GitHub username is, .github.io. Or if you did, like I talked about, where you have the slash, you would need to add that slash website name. So yeah, this is just whatever you would put in the URL bar to get to your website. So next is the repository page section. And so it's easy to get these two confused, URL and repository. So for repository, this is the name of our GitHub repository, which maybe that seems obvious, but if we go up, we see up here, I have flamethecat/flamethecat.github.io. This is exactly what I'm going to type in that repository field. So whatever your directory or whatever your GitHub says up here, that's what you're going to put in the repository section. And so these two are important because if you type something incorrectly here, once you load up your website, you'll notice that it looks a little broken. Your like sidebar won't show up, and it'll look like if you've ever tried to load a page that didn't load correctly, and you see that everything is in like Times New Roman and it's all on a new line, if you know what I'm talking about, it'll look sort of like that. So you'll know immediately if you've messed something up here, and then we can go back and check that. So then as we go down, I'm just going to explain what a couple more of these do. So words per minute in the blog section, it estimates how long it takes for somebody to read your blog posts. So this is the number of words per minute that you think somebody could read. I actually have no sense of how many words per minute I can read, but I guess 160 seems like an average words per minute. I'm not sure. Future true. So this applies to our blog as well. So this is basically setting if we want to show those blog posts that are to be posted in the future. So like how when I showed the blog, we saw that, I'll open it up here. So we can see that we have this future blog post that's in 2199. So if this were set to false, it wouldn't show this blog post. It would automatically just save that for as soon as that date passes, then it would show. Read more disabled. So there's a little comment about this, about how it adds a read more button. This, you can enable that, you can disable that. I'm gonna leave it disabled. But I encourage you in the future to maybe play around with some of these to see how they change your website and if maybe you like it better that way. So then we have some sections on comments, which I'm just going to scroll by and not really dig into because these are a lot more complicated than I am prepared to talk about today, and then that we have time to go over. We also have a section for search engine optimization, which I assume none of us have for this website at this point, so we're just going to leave that blank. Then we have down here, we have social sharing. And so note that this is not what edits this sidebar social thing. This has more to do with comments and things like that. So what I would do is I would just get rid of this this Twitter thing and then just leave this. as it is. We'll enter in our social media in a short bit. So as we scroll down, we then have analytics. And then down here is really where we can have fun and where I'm gonna let you guys just kind of go off to edit for a little bit. So this is about the site author, and this is what is really determining what's shown up on the sidebar. So your sidebar name, let me move this over a little bit. Okay, so your sidebar name determines what is written here. So I'm gonna write, welcome to my website, but you can write whatever you want. Next, we have the field for our profile picture. And so just leave that as it is for now. I'll show you how to do that next. So then we can change our bio. This edits this here. I'm an orange house cat. And then our location, which changes this location field. So then we can go down and enter in any of these fields that we want. And as we enter them, it will add or remove them from here. So Flame doesn't have any of these publication things. So I'm just going to comment these out by using the pound symbol. But you can use their examples to sort of get a sense of how to enter in your information, because you are much more likely to have this information than a cat. So everybody has GitHub, so we all can edit the GitHub one to be our GitHub username. And so now I'm just gonna let everybody take a minute and edit this and put their own information in before we move on. So don't try and edit anything outside of this, like what I've talked about editing at this point, but I'm just gonna pause for like 3 to 5 minutes to make sure that everybody can edit this page as they wish. Our goal is for you to have a working website that you can present to people at the end of this workshop. So edit this however you would want it to be.
Sarah, does commenting out those fields make them not show up in your sidebar anymore?
Correct, yeah. So
Okay.
when if there is nothing listed, or if it's commented out, then you won't even get this little icon. So for example, so right now all I would have, I think, is location in GitHub because I've commented everything else out. But if I wanted to add like Instagram, I could add his Instagram name, which is Fetching Flame. And then, so now the Instagram icon would show up, and you would be able to click and get to his Instagram. So when you have edited this file and you're content with it, put a green check mark up. You won't see anything on your website yet. We're not going to save this yet. Just keep it on the edit page, but enter in what you want to have on the website.
Probably a minute or two more, Sarah.
Great, that sounds good. Yeah, no like rush to edit this for people. I want you guys to have exactly what you want on your website, so don't feel pressure. Just do what you need to do. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to talk a little bit more about what is in this file. If you're still editing it, that's okay. But that's the last thing that we're going to edit in this file for now. So if we scroll down, we see that we have our includes and our excludes sections. And so the exclude section is really an important one, I guess, to point out. So if you have something on your website that you don't necessarily want to be like hosted like a website page, you might want to add it here. So we'll do an example of that a little later on, but this is where extra things go. Like, for example, our README is here because that is only for looking at in our repository. We don't need that for like what other people are seeing on our website. So these are files that we don't necessarily want just to be on our website as a page. So as we scroll down, we have a little bit about the conversion and the markdown processing and things like that. So I would not edit any of this if I were you, unless you have some confidence in editing this kind of stuff. We're just going to leave this as it is all the way down to the bottom. So once we are satisfied with all of our edits, we're going to commit these changes. So I'm going to write a commit message and I'm going to say updated config.yml to have personal information. And then I'm going to make sure that it's committing to the GitHub pages branch so that it's pushing to like the website that we're going to view. This should automatically be GitHub pages for everybody here if you've done it through the command line like I showed you. But if you fork the like alternative way, there's a chance that you might end up pushing to master, which wouldn't show your changes on your website. So you just want to make sure that you're always pushing to GitHub pages. And then we're just going to commit those changes. And you should come up on a page the same page, but not in editing, and you should be able to see your edits. So once you've done that, navigate to your website and refresh and see if it has updated. Now you might notice that it hasn't updated. You probably will notice that it hasn't updated because it takes a little bit of time to update sometimes. And so we can see that mine has updated now. It says Flame House Cat up here. Welcome to my website. I entered that. It has his location, a link to his Instagram, and a link to his GitHub. And it doesn't have any of those other links that I commented out. So we can like click on these and they work. So you can also scroll down to the bottom and see that your name has now been placed in the footer to show that you're the one that's editing this website, and it should have the date down there as well. So this is pretty exciting. We've made our first changes to our website. So now we are going to add a profile picture. So to do that, click on your main repository. So we want to go back to the page with all of this. So back to our main repository page. And once we get here, we're going to click on images. Oh no, my internet is unstable, so let me know if there are issues on my end. But we'll click on images. And so here we can see that there are a lot of images that have already been uploaded. And so these are just used throughout the website already. And so we're not going to delete or edit any of these. We're just going to leave them there. So if we want to add a full file to this directory, we're going to click Add File here. And then Upload Files. And so it should bring you to a page that looks like this. So I am going to find a nice picture of Flame. And I am going to upload it here. And so once you've uploaded, or once you've selected a file, we'll give it our comment. So I'm going to say uploaded profile photo, and then we're going to commit again. And so make sure that if you couldn't find this directory, or if you had issues with uploading, make sure you put a red X so that a helper can help you. And so now I'm just going to commit my changes. And it'll say processing my files, and then it will bring me back to my home page. So now let's see if it uploaded. And it did, because my file was named flame.png. So now, if we want to use this photo on our website, we're going to copy the name of it, because we want to make sure that the formatting is exactly the same. When you are referencing photos or anything on GitHub pages, case matters. So if I typed in flame with a capital F, it would return an error. So we want to make sure that when we are using any sort of files, we copy and paste or make sure that our name is identical to what it is on the website, or the actual file name. So from here, I'm going to navigate back to that config file, which remember we go to our main page of our GitHub repository with all of our folders. And then we scroll down to config. So we're just going to click the config one. And so we're back here. And I'm going to pause for a sec to make sure that the upload and everything is going well for people.
No evidence to suggest otherwise, Sarah.
Perfect, thank you. So if we're back on this page, we'll just edit this again by clicking on this pencil. And then we will go to where it says photo. So if we scroll down, it's on line 84. And we're just going to paste in the name of our photo. So right now, we don't need to put any sort of path here because this file knows that that's in the images file. But on other pages, we'll need to put a relative path to it. So we'll need to direct it to the images folder, which I'll show you when we get there. So once you've changed your name of your avatar, you can go down to the bottom and just add another comment and commit that again. And I'm going to say updated a photo. I'm committing to GitHub Pages branch. So it's going to be published to my website. And then I'm just going to click commit changes. So once we've done that, we can refresh our website and hopefully, eventually, our photo will show up. And so when you are caught up to me, not necessarily when you can see your photo, but when you have pushed your changes, give me a green check mark. And I'll just scroll back down here so that you can see where I put in his file. And so we can see on my website, it's updated, and now we have this wonderfully handsome photo of Flame as his profile photo. How are we? Do we have check marks?
We do, but maybe a minute or so more.
Okay, perfect, yeah.
I think you're probably good to move forward, Sarah.
Okay, thanks. All right, so now that we have our profile photo on our website, we've edited it on the website. So now I'm going to show you how to edit a page locally. So now first we should pull this so that our changes that we've made online are reflected in our local directory. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to go back to our terminal. So I haven't done anything more in here since last time since we last saw this. And so once we have our terminal, what we're going to do is type git pull origin gh-pages. And so this command is at the very bottom of that PDF that I sent out. So if you want to copy and paste it, go for it. And then we're just going to hit enter, and then you should get something like this. So if you have a pull that worked successfully, give me a green check mark.
Maybe a minute or so more, Sarah.
Okay. And so while we're waiting for polls to happen, I just want to point out a couple of things here for those of you who are ready to move on. We have the two files that we've edited here, so we can see that we changed the config file, and so that has been pulled to our branch or to our local repository. And then also we added the image, so we can also see that the image has been pulled down to our machine. And so when you if you want to check if this happened successfully, you can look into your folder, and you can in your however you navigate your files, if you go into your folder and go into images, you should see the image that you added. So if I go into here, I can see that this flame photo is now on my local machine as well.
I think you're good to move forward, Sarah.
Awesome. Okay. So now I'm going to show you how we can edit something locally if we wanted to edit it locally. So I'm going to pull back my Finder window. However you edit text documents, that's how we're going to do this. So if you are familiar with the command line and you typically edit text documents in the command line, you can do that. I'm going to use text edit. You can use any range of things, or if you don't have something on your computer to edit, that's okay. You can just entirely edit on GitHub. But I want to show this so that you have this option. So we're going to go under Pages, and you're going to navigate to about.md. And so once you found that, just open it however you would edit a text file. So I'm going to edit in text edit. And so while you do that, I'm just going to organize my screen so that this is bigger and we can see the website. Woo. Okay, so if you couldn't open this on your local machine, just go to your GitHub, navigate to the file, and you should be able to view it just like we did that config file. So this is our homepage that we're editing. So about.md is the file that is this page. So we see up here, we have some information, and this might look familiar because I believe we worked a little bit with this when we were doing our markdown. So this title is what's going to be displayed up here in the tab. It's also what's going to be displayed here. So I'm just going to change this to say, hello, my name is Flame. We don't need to worry about the excerpt here because this page we are never previewing, but we will talk more about this in our next page that we have. Author profile equals true. We're just going to leave this the way it is for this page because this is set up for your homepage. So then we have redirect from. So these are the different URLs that you could type into the page that would bring you back to this page. And then permalink is just the link to that page within the website. So this is like the actual link. So that's what these are redirecting to. So because this is our homepage, we just have a slash. We don't typically have anything after our the first part of our URL. So now I am just going to go through and I'm going to delete everything on this page except that header. I'm just going to select it all and delete it, so that I only have my header. And once you've done that, we can type whatever we want on our homepage. So I'm going to type a little bit about Flame. And I'll let you guys type about you while I do this. So while you edit this, just remember that all of the markdown that we learned earlier this week works. So if we want a heading, we can do the pound sign or multiple pound signs, just like how Alex showed you for our markdown. We can use all those markdown commands. We can also enter in code blocks by using the 3 tick marks. And say A equals 5. I'm a Python person, not an R person. So there's my code block. You can also do equations, things like that. We can also add images just like we did earlier, or earlier in the week. And so on. So once you've edited your home page and you are happy with what it says, go ahead and give me a green check mark. And after that, we will push our changes. I see that we have a question in chat about embedding link in text. And yeah, you can embed links. So to do so, you would use square brackets to surround whatever the text you want. So I see in your example, you want Washington State University. So I'm going to type Washington State University. And then for the URL, I'm just going to put that in parentheses. And I'm going to say .edu. I don't know what WSU's website is, but something like that. And then so this should render to be a website. I see Michael nodding, so that must be the WSU website. So I just want to make a comment about images. So if we wanted to have an image on our website, we would need to add it again. But because we are doing this locally, now we will just put it in the images folder on our computer. So you don't need to have an image on this page, but I would like one. So I'm going to navigate to where I have pictures of Flame. And I want the play image. So I'm just going to go to the images folder down here. And I'm just going to put this play picture in there. And you probably won't get this pop up. I have iCloud Drive enabled, so I just need to tell it to move it. So now I've added this image or this file here. And if I want to reference that in my script, I need to do it exactly as it is here, but I also need to have the extension. So I know that these are PNG images because I made sure they were before the workshop. But if you aren't positive what your extension is, you will be able to see it when you upload it to GitHub. So I need to now give it a relative path. So if I need to go up a directory and then back down. So I need to go our /images/play so that we are up a directory like Matt talked about and then down into our images directory. But again, you don't need to add an image to this if you don't want to. I actually might not need the .. but we'll see. So when you have this edited, go ahead and save it on your computer. How are we doing with green check marks?
I'm still waiting on a few.
Perfect. Okay.
So yeah, maybe as folks finish up, just remember green check mark. While we're waiting on green check, Sarah, we've got a question in the chat. So this is an image text there. Does that show up on the page, or is that for your own use?
So that's for your own use. So it might show up if you like hover over it or something, but it's not like a caption. So it's not something that don't put a whole lot of effort into it, because it's not like guaranteed that people will see it. I think that if the link is broken, it'll say, or if the image is broken, if the path is wrong, it will say that, like, it would say this is an image, and then it would have like a little broken symbol. So for example, if I didn't need this ... which maybe I don't remember exactly, but it would show up as like a broken thing, and then it would say this is an image. So you know what that image should have been.
Gotcha. So
but when you do a link, this does. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just saying, if we wanted to add a caption to this image, like how would we do that? And could we do that here?
So I looked into this a little bit, and I am not positive if there's like a really good way to add image captions within just straight Markdown. I would just like type a caption under it, like this is the caption. I don't know if anybody else knows better, if there's like a better way to do captions in Markdown.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. Oh, I guess this is, yeah. I'm sure if you like got into HTML and stuff, there's a way to do it in HTML. So if you wanted to like get real fancy, you could go that route. So you can type HTML in this as well, but yeah, it's expecting Markdown.
I also think you're good to move on, Sarah.
Great. Okay. So now we're going to push our changes back to GitHub so that we can see these changes on our website. So I've saved this file, and I'm just going to close it. And I'm going to go back to my terminal that I have been working in this whole time. And so I am going to do git add all. And then I'm going to git commit. And I'm going to say I edited my homepage, added a photo. And then I'm just going to enter. And we have all this information about our pushing, or about what the changes we've made. So we can see that 98% changed was about me because we deleted most of it. And then again, we added this image. And so now we're just gonna git push origin, and then gh-pages. So it's important that this is a little bit different than when you push to your normal Git repository, that you have that gh-pages instead of master or whatever. Yeah, master is, I think, the normal, what you would typically put there. So then you should get something that looks similar to this, and eventually it'll say, we return back to this. So once you've successfully pushed your changes, give me a green check mark, and I can also, you can also go to your website and refresh it and see if those changes have been changed.
We've also got a question, Sarah. So you used get add asterisk. Is there a difference between get add asterisk and get add period?
I don't believe that there is. I see that you said the period indicates all changes, but the asterisk is like just a wild card. So I believe that that also indicates all changes if you don't add any other information along with it.
Cool.
So I think
So,
there might
yeah,
actually be a small difference. My understanding is that when you say get add with a period, it adds everything in the current directory that you're in. So maybe if you're in like a subfolder of your directory, it adds everything in that that folder and in the folders it contains. Whereas if you use get add with, I know for certain, like a dash and a capital A, that adds everything in the entire directory regardless of where you are. So the asterisk might be the equivalent to everything. I'm not totally sure about that though. But the period does reference the current folder you're in and the folders that are inside of it and the files.
Thanks for clearing that up. So yeah, just put up a green check mark once we've had successful edits. Flames has pushed, and we can see this beautiful photo of him holding one of his favorite toys.
Yeah, and just to confirm, Matt, that's what I found in my cursory Google search about period versus the star, how the period is anything in all file or folders and subfolders, and asterisk is only within the current directory.
Oh, so the reverse of what I said.
Oh, sorry, I thought, okay, yeah, then I guess this
Okay.
is what you said.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking back at some notes I had from last year, so maybe I got confused or it changed or something.
How are we doing on the green checks?
Maybe a few more.
Okay.
Minutes, sorry, or
I see that we have a comment about the links. They like HTTPS. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I guess if you don't have the HTTPS, it assumes that it's part of this website and it puts your URL first. So yeah, so with links, you'll want to add your HTTPS or else you'll end up with a broken link. So I would recommend that if you want to change that, don't change it locally right now because we're going to go back to changing things on the website because I think that that's more clear for people to follow along. So you don't want to have any conflicts with your local repository and the one on the website. So once you have successfully pushed and you see it there, don't further edit it yet.
I think you're good, Sarah, with regard to people being caught up.
Great, thanks. Okay, so let's go back to our repository on GitHub here, this main page that we always come back to. And so in the interest of time, we're not going to go over and do like every single page type, but each of these are pretty similar. The publications, talk, teaching, and portfolio websites are all pages are all pretty similar. So we're going to do the portfolio one because I want to show you how to add in your R Markdown. So click on portfolio, and you should see a directory structure like this. You'll have the Markdown file and an HTML file. So for your portfolio, you can use either .markdown or .html files. And everywhere else, you'll only want to be using .markdown files. But here we can, it's smart enough to know how to deal with a .html file. So if we first look at the .markdown file, it'll look like this. We have this table in the top, like we do on all the pages, and then where we type. So if we just hit the edit this file button, we see that we have this header here. And so we have our title, which we can say, this is a portfolio item. And then a short excerpt. So this shows up on the page if you go to this short description that is displayed. This is the excerpt that it's going to show. Now, note that if you just deleted this line, it would show a preview of your text. So it would show up until your first like major line break, I think is how it parses it out, but I could be wrong. So if you delete that, it will just show a preview of this. Here they added an image, and this is the HTML way of adding an image. And so that's how come on our website we have those preview images. If you don't want an image, you can just delete this. And you can, so this is a line break too. So that is what's telling it to put the image underneath this. So you can delete all of this, and I'm going to, because I don't want an image there. And I'm going to say, this is my Markdown file. So next we have collection is portfolio. And so we want to make sure that this, we don't change this for each of the different pages that we do, because this is how the HTML files determine what page to put our Markdown files on. So if we, if this was like spelled wrong or something, it wouldn't show up on this page. So we can put a little Markdown thing here and say, this is a Markdown portfolio. Markdown is fun. So I'm just going to push this Markdown one because I'm going to show you an HTML one before I show you how this applies more broadly. So I'm going to say added my Markdown document and commit those changes. The next way you can do this is the HTML way. So if we go back to looking at our two files, we have an HTML one as well. So if we click on that, it looks just like the Markdown one. And the key to this is this heading. This heading is what all the pages need. So it doesn't matter if for the portfolio, if you have an HTML or a Markdown page, you need to have this heading chunk.
Hey, Sarah.
So now, oh yeah, sorry.
Sorry, we have a quick question in the chat. It's what if you want to remove completely? Siri. What if you want to completely remove the portfolio tab from your page?
Okay, so I'll show you how to edit what tabs there are. We're running out of time a little bit, so I will show you how to edit your navigation next. But if you can just delete the different pages if you don't want one of the portfolio items. So if I didn't want this HTML item, I could just delete it. But if I don't want the portfolio tab at all, you'll need to just edit your navigation, which we'll get into next. So for my HTML file, I'm going to hit edit. And this is going to be an R Markdown thing. So I'm going to say, this is my R Markdown project. But notice that we're working in HTML and not Markdown. And that's because to incorporate the R Markdown onto our GitHub pages, we need to use the exported HTML document. So once you've knit your R Markdown file and saved as an HTML document, you can use it here. So I'm going to change my description and I'm going to get rid of that image and I'm going to say, this is just an example of how to include R Markdown. Okay. So now I'm going to delete what they already have because it's just placeholder text. And I'm going to go on my computer and I'm going to navigate to where I have an R Markdown HTML file saved. So you might have one from earlier in the week. Here's mine. And I'm just going to double click on it to see what it is. And it's just the example Markdown, R Markdown thing. So I'm going to go back to my page. And I'm going to open this, the HTML document. I'm going to open it with my text edit or whatever text editor you used when we did this locally. That wasn't what I expected to happen. Okay, well, you can do it in the command line pretty easily if you oh no.
What if you use Adam?
Will Adam open it?
I think so.
Like that? Okay, thank you. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Matt. Okay, so when you open it and you can see this basically gibberish, this is the HTML for that. So I'm just going to copy this whole thing. And I am going to paste it below this header. Now, just make sure that when you do this, you don't delete the header. The header is very important. And also make sure that you don't accidentally do this, because then it doesn't think there's a header. So make sure that you don't have any spaces before the header. If you find that you are adding things and it's not showing up in on any of your pages, it's likely because your header is messed up. Just always make sure that your header is kind of in pristine condition. So I'm just going to push this. I know that this is a little fast, but I want to get to the navigation, and I figure that you don't have a bunch of R Markdowns that you want to put in here right now. So I'm going to say added R Markdown, and I'm just going to commit that. And so we should see our changes on our website. So we see that the Markdown one updated. So if we click on it, we see what I typed in that page. This is my Markdown portfolio. Markdown is fun. If we go back, I hope, nice. So now our Markdown project has loaded on our website. So when we click on this, we see that it has taken the HTML that we've entered in and put our Markdown project on our website with our same header and all this. It does change some of the HTML of the website a little bit. If you notice, these links are smaller than they were before. I'm not quite sure why that is. It probably has to do with some of the internal coding within the HTML of our Markdown. But if you have any sort of R Markdown document that you can export as HTML, you can add it to your website this way. So that's a pretty easy way if you have a project already in R Markdown, you can very easily add it to your website. So next, I am going to show you how to add and remove pages. Each of these pages here are very similar to editing the same way that we edited our portfolio. In those folders, you'll see multiple like template files. So you just edit those. You can add more or delete them, just make sure that your headers are always intact. So to edit our navigation and some of our other website information, we're going to go to data. So once you get here to this data file, we're going to click on navigation.yml. And then this is what that file looks like. It's a pretty straightforward file. We just have our URL and the name of the page. So the title is whatever you want to be displayed in the navigation, and then the URL is wherever it's going to redirect to. So if we just edit this file, say we want to remove our Markdown guide, we can just comment these lines out. If we wanted to add a page, we could just add the same way, add title, new page, URL, whatever the URL to our new page is. So it's pretty easy to add and remove our different navigation items. So if you didn't want your portfolio, you just comment this out and it wouldn't show up in your header. And so I would recommend doing this if, say, you don't want teaching, you don't teach. You could just comment that one out, but I wouldn't go through and delete the templates, because if there's a time in the future where you decide to add teaching, you probably want their headings. So I would just take it out of my navigation and not delete it entirely, just as a tip. So we're getting pretty close on time, and I just wanted to say that if you have to go, by all means, go for it. I will stick around now because I am going to show about blog posts, but the recording will be available if you need to leave. Also, though, before you go, make sure you fill out the survey.
Hey, Sarah. Now that we've been doing this editing, has our the CV page sort of dynamically started populating things yet, or have we not added anything that would show up there?
We have not added anything that would show up here yet. So the only things that add here are teaching, talks, and publications. So let's add a talk next so that we can change our CV page. So I'm just going to update my navigation by committing this. If you didn't change it, you don't need to do that. New page, I haven't created a page for this, so this will be a broken link, but we can just commit that. So let's add a talk just so that we can see it update on our CV. So let's navigate to our talks folder. And we'll see that we have some templates. So we can just edit these templates to be whatever we want for our talks, or we can delete them. So if I don't have 3 talks, I don't want this entry, I can just hit the trash can up here and then commit this. And this talk will no longer show up in our talk page. But as I said before, I would not recommend deleting all of these. If you are in that situation, just remove it from your navigation. But let's edit talk number 1, just so that we can see it change. So I'm going to title this Bird Watching in Eastern Washington. And so this is going under the talks collection, which is something, if you look on the website, you can see, maybe if you click on it, it says talk somewhere. Oh yeah, so conference proceeding talk, tutorial. So this is where the type is put in, and the collection puts it in this folder. So then we want to change our path because this isn't the right date. So let's say I did this talk today. Whoops. Talk 1. Okay. And then I did this talk at Washington State University. Changed the date down here. And then change the location. And it asks for all this information because it has coding in to format it so that it looks like this. So you don't need to format things like this. It will format it like this for you. So then here you can type anything. I would put maybe an abstract or something like that. But note that it will show a preview. So if you have like a little one-liner about your talk, you could say like, this was a great talk. And then hit 2 enters and then have your abstract. This will be your preview. So you won't see everything on this page. You'll need to click on the link. So I'm just gonna push this. I'm gonna commit this. I'm just gonna hit commit changes. And so the things that we should see change on my website are that I deleted one of those talks and I added a talk. Or I changed a talk, I guess. And so eventually this will update, but I noticed that there's one thing that I forgot to do. I didn't change the name of the file. And so when you don't change the name of the file, it isn't gonna successfully publish because this link is not correct. So this link here needs to be the name of your file. So I'm just gonna change that, copy and paste that to here, and then I'm gonna push that again or commit that again. Okay. So now if we refresh this page, eventually it should work. And we will also be able to see on our CV page, it will be added into this talk section when it updates.
So I think if you go to your commits, it'll actually show you the status of whether things have been like sent to your website publicly yet or not.
Like this?
So if you go just to the main repo page, and yeah, so the red X's probably aren't a good sign. But I could be wrong. If you hover over the red X, you could see what it says.
Well, I know what the issue is looking at this, because the issue started with the navigation and I added a fake page to the navigation.
Oh, okay.
So let's see if I remove that fake page, if it'll fix it.
Yeah, because that actually wasn't what I was expecting to see, but sometimes there'll be like a little, I think a green dot or a green check mark that'll just indicate that the upload to your actual web page is finished, so that it should be live now. So you can kind of check in on that every couple of minutes and see if it's gone up. Because sometimes, I don't know, with the pages I've edited, it can take like 5 or 10 minutes to update publicly for some reason.
Yeah, and I noticed that as I edit more, it takes a longer time for it to actually update. Well, I seem to be having issues with that, and I'm not sure why now. But if I wasn't having issues, that's the way that you would edit each of those, and I'm sure that other people probably didn't have those issues. Because I was just editing quickly to show those things. And we can tell that my website hasn't updated since I changed that navigation, because I still have this guide one, and that was what I was trying to remove. So I'm not going to go through and try and troubleshoot this in front of everybody for the sake of time, and also because we're out of time now. But you should have a basis now on how you can continue to edit your page. All you'll need to do is go into your the folders, so pages for your different pages, portfolio to edit your portfolio, posts for your blog, publications for your publications, and just edit those templates that are there. You can add and subtract as much as you want from them. That's how you would go about that. So I think that I will take any questions that people have now. Or if you want to stick around and continue to edit your website, I would be happy to stick around and help you, give you pointers.
So one person has said that they got an email about their page build failing. So that's good to know that it'll tell you when and why it fails. But they said that the error they got was that the talk or the markdown document doesn't have a valid date in the YAML font or front matter. I just wanted to know if you had any ideas about that, Sarah.
So I think the issue that might be coming up here is that you need to have your your talks formatted exactly as they have it. I think that you need to have like your month and date. I see that that person just has year. I think that you need year, month, date for the format. So I hope that fixes it. If not, though, you can email me and I can help you troubleshoot more if you don't find, like if you have to go or if you don't find that it's working right now.